I've learned a lot over the 4 decades of health and fitness and being in the trenches with the greatest in the world. And one of those things I've learned a lot more about and how to build better muscle is nutrition and how it has changed over the decades. And that's why I have the Titan meal plan for you guys out there that are confused about nutrition. I'm going to set you straight. Get a hold of me today. The link will be in the comments down below for you guys. Everybody, get over to the Titan meal plan, and I'll see you in the Titan crew where I will fine-tune any difficulties that you're having. Welcome to the Mike O'Hearn Show, when we have another session with Frank Zane, the legend. This one's great because it really goes into, I imagine you fans out there want to know what's the body weight you should step on stage because of your height and your structure. And it's great to see what his take on that is, along with, when I think of Frank Zane, I guess with common sense, I know that he learned a lot of stuff from legends himself, from others. And he really goes into depth on who he learned to bench properly or do power movement, compound movements from. And I'm gonna love the reaction from you guys when you see it wasn't a bodybuilder. So here it is, Mike O'Hearn Show here on Generation Iron. Let's go.
I remember when it was 1982, I knew I could have been better because I was heavy. Everybody was telling me, Joe Eater's always telling me, oh, Frank, we're getting bigger, eh? You know, and so I wanted to weigh 200, and I did, and I was too smooth. If I was 190, 194, I would have been much better. But, you know, and that's the year Dickerson won.
Oh, there is.
Even so, I think I should have beat him. I should have beat him because he's the Dickerson. I mean, he's got some legs, some calves especially, but the rest of them, I didn't see anything there.
Wasn't very
No
significant.
abs.
Like you.
Back was pretty good. Delta was pretty good. No arms. You know.
That's why I think today people are too obsessed with how much they weigh and not how good they look.
It doesn't matter.
Weight is irrelevant. It's an art show.
It's a number.
Right? Yeah, it's a number on a scale.
That's the thing. Numbers don't matter. They don't. It's all on what you look like. And if you can forget about the numbers and just focus on the image, that's really what matters, is the image. And so if you just took photos, that's the best thing you could do. Just go by what it looks like. That's what judges are doing. They're not saying, I wonder what he weighs.
What he weighs.
They don't say
benches.
that.
Yeah.
You know, they're looking at the image. You're just struck by the image. That's what you have to perfect, is that.
So how did you train weight-wise? Were you a heavy guy or a moderately heavy or controlled and mind muscle? What was more important?
I worked up in weight on every set. I do about, you know, maybe 4 sets of an exercise. I'd go heavier every set. I do between, let's say, 6 and 12 reps.
Okay.
And then I stretched between sets. I always did that.
Huh.
I'd stretch for a good 15, 20 seconds after every set.
The body part that you were working on? Just
I still do that.
Reason?
Well, I figured, you know, when you're doing the exercise, you get maximum contraction. You want to balance that with a maximum stretch, which is the opposite of what you're doing. So you sort of neutralize it.
Because I think they talk about now, there's so many things that you guys did that they realize now why it was so right. It's like you pump the muscle, yes, but you want to stretch the fascia. So the sac that holds the muscle, so it can take in more blood, so you can fill it more, so it can get bigger in time. So you, without knowing what these guys are talking about, you're already doing that just because you knew the contraction on the opposite side, you needed to stretch.
The thing is, it felt good. That was my reason. Those explanations are we might call post hoc. It's after the fact.
Yeah.
The fact is, I'm after the feeling. What does it feel like?
Yeah.
What does it look like? You know, that was what it was all about. I didn't really look for scientific reasons, although I sort of knew what they were.
If you are confused about training, do not worry. That's what the Titan training plan is for. For you guys to subscribe to this plan, you also get the additional coaching from me in the Titan private group. Get in there today, and I cannot wait to start working with you and making your dreams come true. Let's get back to the show. I think that's the best thing about it, though, because it's now they're discovering like things that I talked about 20, 30 years ago. They're like, oh, okay, so this is the rep range.
Yeah.
So this is the weight you should lift. And I said, and you guys have said it, we told you guys this 30, 40 years ago, but now, even though you showed them how a body can look, But now, because of scientists, it doesn't do the actual experience of it. It says it. Now it's factual.
Yeah.
But not because you did it and did it perfectly. It's like, it's interesting.
You know what helped me a lot is in '79, before the Olympia, I hung out with powerlifters. And there was this one guy from Texas, Doug Young. He was like a 260 pounder, just like a 650 pound bench press. And he did really slow negatives. And so I started doing that in my workouts. I worked out with him a little bit too, doing slow negatives, let's say on bench, and I got thick. Everything got thicker doing that. And I realized that, you know, you're 40% stronger on a negative, so go for the slow negative rather than, you know, repping out and bouncing. I mean, that works too. Many things work. You know, as saying, everything works if you let it. So utilize everything if you can, and utilize slow negatives if you want to grow.
It's, you can tell them that's how I lived. Slow, controlled on the negative.
Yeah.
Flex through the positive. Don't bounce it. Except there, yeah, you can always go to that bounce if you're in a safe position. But it's, I love the negative.
It was like those slow squats you were doing at the
Yeah.
time you had on a timer. You like put a timer on to see how
I would do
slow
3
it
reps,
was.
but it took me a minute. And it's just squeezing through it and flexing it.
You
like
use some ponderous weights in your workout, I notice. And that's everything, really. If you can handle the weight, that's everything, really. If you can handle the weight, you're going to grow. That's the bottom line. You know, everything else is sort of like leading up to that. You know, I mean, I was never the strongest guy, but I found ways to get the most out of the weights that I used by having good form and doing slow negatives and, you know, stretching between sets and a lot of posing too.
It's funny. It just, it seems like everything he's saying is what we've talked about.
What's all of what you were talking about on the way down here with the questions he had? It's just they're naturally coming up and being answered.
You know, one guy, remember Ken Waller?
Oh.
Yeah.
He was
Do you know
really
what he's Ken?
Not a lot, no, just from
The best thing, I think, and then I want you to tell the story because I heard Ken would fight with just the smallest amount of effort. He was always up for it.
He loved fighting. Him and Tony Novak,
Tony Novak,
his
wow.
buddy, they would get in fights all the time. They loved fighting.
Oh my gosh.
You know, Waller, I remember at one of the 79 Olympia, Waller was walking around and he had, in his hand, he had 2 bottles of wine. He's holding them by the neck. It's like crisscross. And he's walking around at the banquet after the Olympia. Don't you care about your image? Is that how you build your image? You walk around with wine, only 2 wine bottles that you're going to drink, you know, in a record time.
The compound information that somebody like Frank has, Robbie Robinson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, think of that. Think of the legends they've been around and learned from and learned mistakes from as well. And you guys got to get all that information right here just on the show itself, and so much information for you guys to make sure you don't make those same mistakes. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Who would you like to see next week on the Mike O'Hearn Show right here on Generation Iron? Until then, I'll see you next Friday.